This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by light heavyweight contender Callum Johnson over Zoom. Callum, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all good, mate. It's good to catch up with you. We haven't actually
Yeah.
spoken for a few months now. How have you been? How's life been treating you?
It's been good. It's been good. You know, this lockdown, as you know, through lockdown, I was keeping myself busy and active, and I was training really well. And since lockdown's kind of half, you know, it's not finished properly, but since it's half lifted a little bit, you know, it's been kind of, I've been a little bit. What do I do? Do I keep training like I am? Do I just pull it down a little bit, waiting for that date? But you know, now I don't think we're too far off getting a date now with a bit of luck.
Joe's obviously been very vocal about the fact it's been about 500 to 600 days since he was last in the ring. Um, what has this period been like for you? I know, granted, the same with most boxers, the last 6 months you can't really help because of COVID, but now we're starting to see shows return. You know, how frustrating of a period has it been for you?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's been frustrating, but at the same time, you know, I did get injured, so you know there was nothing I could do there. And then early on in the year, you know, I was messed about with dates and names and things like that. And then the COVID came and the lockdown came, so it was frustrating that I never got out early when I should have been. But now, you know, I'm back in Manchester. I'm training, and I'm just trying to stay focused on. So when I do get the date, I'm ready. But like I say, hopefully I get one. I get one soon.
Let's obviously move on and discuss some potential fights and start off with the most obvious one, which has really kind of built up a bit of momentum over the past few weeks, Callum. Joshua Buatsi, a fellow Brit. Talk to me about kind of Josh, and first and foremost, in fact, reflect on his victory this past weekend against Marco Chalic.
Funny you should say that. I literally just watched his fight back about half an hour ago, and you know you've got to. It is what it is. You've got to look at the positive side of it, or look at the good side. He had a tough fight. He took some shots, you know, and he came through, and he had a gut check, and you know he came out and he finished the job off. So on that side of things, you've got to give the kid credit. But you know he did take a lot, and you know the kid that he fought he was okay, but I don't think he was that great. But you know you can't really tell too much from one fight. Like I say, I'll be honest, it is the only time I've actually watched him. I mean, like you say, people have their opinions. I mean, as it stands now, most people seem to have the opinion that I'll knock him out, and I have the same opinion. But until it happens, you know, we'll never know. And you know, if it does happen, you know, hopefully it will happen, and hopefully, you know, the promoters and Eddie and Matchroom, you know, can make it happen.
From kind of watching Josh, what were kind of the biggest weak points that you felt you saw in him that it certainly stood out in your own eyes?
He looked very easy to hit to me. He looked very easy to hit, and you know, if somebody's in front of me like that and I get my shots off like that, they're not standing up. It's that simple. And you know, listen, Josh was a good fighter, but you know, he wouldn't stand up on that night. He's not standing up to me. He's not going past 3-4 rounds, and he'd have to do a lot of improving from that night to see the fight out.
We've seen Eddie, well, not Eddie come out, but we've seen a couple kind of things come out that Eddie's made an offer to yourself and to Josh to try and make that fight. Just talk to me about that offer, Callum. Where exactly did it all kind of land?
He sent Joe an offer, a free fight offer, like a 3-step plan offer. A fight in November, and then out in February for the European, and then a Joshua Buatsi fight May-June time. And Joe actually replied and said, we're happy to go in with Josh straight in December. You know what I mean? But he said Josh is out now for the rest of the year. He won't be fighting this year. But, you know, one thing's making an offer, and then there's another thing making a serious offer, isn't there? You know, so, I mean, as it stands, you know, there's nothing happening. But listen, I'll fight Joshua Buatsi next week. If the offer's right, if I feel like I'm getting a fair offer, I'll fight him next week. But if I don't get a fair offer, I won't, because at the end of the day, I feel like as though I'm being treated as though I'm getting the shot at him, or I'm the opponent, like the away fighter kind of thing. And I'm not the opponent. I'm not getting a shot at him. If anybody's getting a shot, it's him getting the shot at me, because I'm above him in terms of the world stage, and I've already been there. So I don't want to kind of settle for the opponent kind of wages and things like that. So if I want a fair deal, and if I get a fair deal, like they say, I'll fight him next week. But if I don't get a fair deal, I won't.
With COVID and the uncertainty around not just boxing but every sport and just every day, every person's life at the minute, people are kind of making, don't want to say sacrifices, but willing to give up certain percentages or certain fees that you wouldn't have kind of had to be pre-COVID. Have you got kind of an idea in your mind of how much you would be willing to give up? Not just
Yeah,
Joshua fight, but just for a Joshua Buatsi fight before anybody.
yeah. But I've talking of the Buatsi fight. If you look at Yard and Buatsi, you can imagine what kind of money they'd want to have that fight. So, I kind of have a figure that I feel like the fight's worth, but then I've also got a figure that I'd be happy to take. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, Yard Buatsi at the O2, packed arena, things like that. Imagine what kind of money them two would want. So why should I be any different? I don't feel I should be. But listen, I'm fair. I just want a fair. I just want being paid fairly. Do you know what I mean? I'm not bothered about loads of money as long as I feel like it's fair. But with COVID and everything else, yeah, I understand we have to take a little bit of a pay cut and things like that. But not massive, not 40% pay cuts, things like that, because that's the kind of pay cuts I've been offered. And I feel as though it's not really fair, if you like.
Also, just to stick with Josh once again, kind of Joshua Buatsi's eyes, he's looking for a fight which he sees as being in between the level he's fighting at now and then world level. He kind of puts yourself and Sullivan Barrera in that bracket. What do you make of that he sees you as kind of a bridging fight towards world level?
Well, like you say, if he wants to make the fight happen, tell his managerial team to send me a proper offer, and we can make the fight, and we can see if he can get across that bridge, because I don't think he can.
Do you think there's a better chance of us seeing yourself face Joshua Buatsi before, say, the Buatsi Yard fight?
Yeah, you'd like to think so, with obviously the different promotional things and things like that. But who knows? At the end of the day, as well, the way I look at it, I feel as though Buatsi is not my only option. I think Joe Smith Jr. would be a great fight. I think the American TV fans, the fans over there would love to see that fight. I think me and Joe Smith has got war written all over it. So, I'm telling Joe, like, they're the kind of fights I want. Get me a rematch with Beterbiev. Get me the Bivol fight, because I've heard Bivol offered Buatsi a fight, but it don't look like they want to have that yet. But if they don't want to have it, I'll have it. I'll fight Bivol next week. So, Buatsi, yeah, I'm happy to have the fight, but at the same time, it's not the do all and end all. If Joe Smith in America, a rematch with Beterbiev, a fight against Bivol, I'd rather have one of them 3 fights, if I'm honest, because I feel like they're higher fights and more rewarding fights.
I don't want to touch on the Beterbiev fight, but just going back to kind of the performance you gave and dropping him in the manner that you did, do you think now, looking back, it's kind of potentially worked against you, and people look at that and think, well, if he's been able to do that against somebody who is considered by many to be the best 175 fighter in the world, he's much more of a dangerous opposition for myself? Do you think people look at it like that?
Yeah, I think so, because at the end of the day, say for instance, someone like Bivol, he'll be looking, the Bivol's team will look at me and think, well, what do we need to fight him for? He's got nothing to offer us. We don't gain anything from beating him. All he does is bring problems. you know. So yeah, I probably have done myself no favours, but it is what it is, isn't it? You know, it's a boxing's a hard game. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? I won't say corrupt, but it's a horrible sport. You know, a lot of politics are involved, and you know, sometimes you don't get the opportunities you deserve. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you know you sometimes you get the luck of the draw. Sometimes you don't, and it's just the way it is. It's like life, really, I suppose.
I know you've had a very difficult career, Callum, whether that be for not being able to get certain fights, obviously personal reasons. For you now, when the time comes and you decide to retire, what would you like to leave boxing with? Have you thought about what you would like to just kind of have set aside for yourself?
Financial stability. I'd like to have my family set up. You know, I'd like to have a nice house and that paid for, and you know, just not to have to worry. But you know, the way it's gone and the way it seems to be going and the way it is at the minute, you know, that looks like the impossible task. But you know, I'm still confident it'll happen for me. And you know, obviously the bigger picture as well. I want to win a world title, because if I never did, I'll always live the rest of my life thinking, you know, I should have done and I could have done, and it's one of them. But at the end of the day, first and foremost is a little bit of financial security for my family and my kids. You know, secondly, a world title.
Something just touch on a couple of the fights then before I let you shoot off, Callum. You mentioned earlier Igor Mikhalkin. Have you had any further talks about that fight since obviously it fell through twice because of kind of shows being cancelled and COVID?
Yeah, well, like I say, I've had the offer for it again, but again, you know, it's just not the offers that I'm getting for that fight it's not worth it. You know, talking 45% pay cuts, and it's, you know, at the end of the day, he's a world class Russian, and it's a good fight. It's a tough fight, and you know, I don't want to be paid like English title money or British title money, if you like. English title money is probably a little bit over the top, but British title money for a European title fight, you know, it's just not worth it.
Just want to get your thoughts on a few other things, Callum, just to move away from yourself. Obviously, a stablemate of yours, Jose Burton, recently unsuccessful out in Latvia against Ricards Bolotniks. Just want to reflect on that. What are your thoughts on Jose's performance and his defeat?
I thought early on, I thought he looked really sharp. And I was watching, I was thinking, oh, you're looking sharp tonight. But then, you know, it did seem to fade a little bit. And, you know, at the end of the fight, it was very, very close. You know, you couldn't split it on rounds one. You know, I thought maybe 5 rounds each, or possibly even 6-4 to Jose in rounds. But then you had that 10-7 round with them standing counts. I mean, I don't know what happened there. I don't know the rules. You know, I never thought standing counts existed in professional boxing. Um, but the scoring, you know, he was never going to win, was he? Let's be honest. I think by the scoring, if Jose had knocked him out, he'd have probably got disqualified. So, you know, he was fighting a losing battle before he even went. But yeah, it was a fight that he couldn't really split at the end, in my opinion.
Moving on once again, a couple big heavyweight fights announced. Start off with Usyk Chisora. Just Callum, what are your thoughts on that fight when it does come about on October 31st?
Do you know? I don't know. Sometimes I think Chisora's going to really, really test him, and we're going to see if he can do it at heavyweight. But then other times I think, you know, he might just absolutely school him. But I'm excited about it. It's one of the few fights that I'm actually looking forward to, because, you know, I generally don't know how it's going to happen, how it's going to go. Sometimes I'm thinking Derek will really, really push him, and then other times I'm thinking he probably won't. But you know, we'll see. We'll see.
And another big one in heavyweight division, White Povetkin 2. A lot of stake for Dillian going into that one. What do you make of it again?
Listen, you can't write Povetkin off, can you? I mean, I was speaking to someone before the fight, the first fight, and obviously I fancied Dillian to win, but I was saying, you know, you can't write Povetkin off. He's very good, and I thought Povetkin was doing well early on as well. Before he got knocked down them couple of times, I thought he was sharp early on, and he was hitting him well around the sides, and he was doing really well. I don't think the commentary gave him the credit he deserved early on. And then he pulled that shot out of the bag, which was a world-class punch. It was probably one of the best punches I've ever seen thrown in a boxing ring, to be fair.
What do you think Dillian, if anything, needs to do differently going into that rematch and going in as well on the back of such a heavy knockdown? Is it going to be a psychological aspect that he's going to have to overcome when he is opposite Alexander in that ring?
Yeah, maybe. But again, I can't talk for Dillian in that sense because, you know, I'm not Dillian, so I don't know how he's feeling. I don't know how his mindset is. You know, I know after my fight with Beterbiev, I had no psychological issues at all. You know, I know I wasn't knocked out as bad as that. I mean, Christ, but at the same time, you know, it depends on Dillian what his mindset's like. You know, he says he's ready. He said he's gonna be ready and he's gonna do a job. So you know, I believe he means it. Whether he can do it or not, we'll find out, won't we? But I'm sure he can.
Then my final question, Callum, a huge undisputed lightweight title fight next weekend between Vasil Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Just your thoughts on it, Callum. How do you expect that one to play out? Who do you expect to come out on top?
You can't go against Loma, can you? Let's be honest. I mean, I'll be honest. I've never seen Lopez, if I'm honest, but I've obviously heard a lot about him and seen a lot about him, and he's obviously very good. But he's very young as well. But no, I mean, you can't go against Lomachenko against anybody. You know, I mean, I think the only time Loma's going to get beat if he goes up to something like light middleweight.
Callum, we will leave that there now and I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. But for those
Okay,
who
mate.
will tune in and watch this interview who are waiting for news as to when you could be back out, what would you like to say to everyone?
Just let's say, as soon as I know, you'll know, and you know, get ready for the big return because it'll be explosive as usual.
Callum, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. Stay safe and
Nice
I'll
one, mate.
see you soon. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Nice one, mate. Cheers, pal.